Welcome back to the shop. I'm Kirk Anderson. In this video, I'm going to discuss that all-time favorite hack of mine of using super glue and painter's tape to temporarily put two pieces of wood together. Now, as I mentioned, this hack of super glue and painter's tape is fantastic for temporarily putting two pieces of wood together. When you use this hack, you need to make sure that you use painter's tape and not just a regular masking tape. The reason is a masking tape or a lot of other tapes, when you pull it off, will leave a residue, and painter's tape will not. Now, this hack is really easy. The first thing you do is you need to put the painter's tape on both pieces of wood. Then once that's done, you just put a few drops of super glue or CA glue on the painter's tape. And then you put the two pieces together, painter's tape to painter's tape. And I always clamp it to make sure that it really gets a good bond. And then once you're done with what you're going to do with these pieces, it's real easy to separate them. Now, you will need to use a firm putty knife to get in there to spread the pieces apart, but it's not difficult at all. And then once you get them apart, you just take the painter's tape off, and there is no residue on the pieces. Now, this hack comes in handy on many different applications, and I've used it quite a few times in some of my videos. The first example is when I made my saw blade storage rack. Now, the two sides I wanted to have totally, perfectly identical. I glued the two pieces together using this hack, and then I brought it over to the bandsaw and cut out the slots. And then it was just a matter of pulling the pieces apart, and the slots lined up perfectly with each other. Another time when I used this trick is when I was making my taco shell rack. Now, I had 6 pieces of wood that I used to make the divisions in the rack. And I wanted to round over the corners, and I wanted the corners to be perfectly uniform. Using this hack, I glued all of the pieces together, clamped them up, and then using the belt sander, I just sanded the corners round. Another time this hack comes in handy is using a router. And when I made the shaving soap cup rack, this hack came in real handy. I had a template that I was using with the router, and using this hack, I just glued the template and the piece together, and then it was real easy to use the router. The last example I have here when I used this hack was on my CNC machine when I was carving out a piece. I was basically totally cutting out the piece, so even if I had clamped the edges down, which I actually did, the centerpiece that was being carved out would have moved around if I had not glued it down to the spoil board. Now, you can probably think of many other reasons where this hack would come in handy. One thing that I know a lot of people use this for is when they're doing turning on a lathe. I don't have a lathe, I've never done any turning, but I know people that have used this hack on their lathe many, many times. Well, I hope you got something out of this video, and if you did, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And as always, all you woodworkers out there, just get out there and cut some wood.